So, AZ, are you ready to hear the amazing story of Allah's friend?
Yes, I am, and I am sure our listeners are excited too.
I'm sure they are. So, do we know who this popular prophet is? Who the friend of Allah is? This is a prophet we mention at least 20 times in our 5 daily prayers. If Prophet Ibrahim came to mind, then you are correct. This is going to be a multi-part episode, so go grab your popcorn and let's begin. The prophethood is where we come to learn about the heroes who spread Allah's word. The prophethood, their stories teach us right from wrong. Let's walk in their footsteps, let's visit the prophethood. Do you have any friends, AZ?
Yes, I do. Many of our listeners are my friends, and it is great.
Well, imagine if Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, called you his friend. How amazing would that be?
That would be incredible.
It sure would, AZ. Now, not only is Prophet Ibrahim special for being known as the friend of Allah, but he's also considered to be a really special prophet for another reason as well.
Aren't all prophets of Allah special?
Don't get me wrong, AZ. They all are. But Prophet Ibrahim is one of 5 prophets who are known in Islam to be super special. I mean, they're considered the Hall of Famers of the prophets for their strong patience, strength, and leadership. We've actually covered the first of these 5 prophets in an earlier episode. Can you give our listeners a clue about who this first special prophet is, AZ?
Yes, I can. Let me play back an excerpt that will give our listeners a clue.
The flood had arrived. The ark was rocking back and forth in the rising water as it was pounded by waves as big as mountains. It was windy and lightning filled the sky. Wow, that was a really good clue, AZ. I'm sure the flood gave it off to our listeners. The first of these 5 special prophets, known in Arabic as Ulil Azmi min al-Rusul, is in fact Prophet Nuh. Remember how he spent 950 years inviting his people to Allah?
Oh my God!
Talk about patience. And today, we'll be speaking about the second prophet on this list, Prophet Ibrahim. Now, Prophet Ibrahim had an interesting childhood. Born in Babylon, or present-day Iraq, he too grew up in a society that worshipped idols, like many of the other prophets we spoke about. But it wasn't just his people who worshipped idols. His dad, Azar, was an idol worshipper as well. And the worst part is, you ready for it, AZ? Azar was a carpenter who used to make and sell idols. So Ibrahim was faced with an incredible dilemma. His dad was the go-to person for supplying these idols. Imagine! Ibrahim would watch his dad build these quote-unquote holy objects, and then he'd sell them to the public who would worship them. That didn't sit well with Ibrahim. It just didn't make sense. So he obviously tried to help his dad. He tried hard to win him over from the dark side. Father, we can't be selling these idols. They can't see or speak. Worshipping them instead of Allah is just wrong. Don't follow Iblis. He's an enemy of Allah, and your enemy as well. But his dad wouldn't have it. He was quite upset with Ibrahim, especially since he was making money from selling them. Dad, please, listen to me. I'm worried about you. Notice how Ibrahim was always respectful to his dad. There is always respect for parents and elders, no matter what. Despite Ibrahim's persistence, his dad was really harsh. Are you rejecting my gods? If you don't stop, I'm going to stone you. Eventually, Azar told Ibrahim to get lost, to leave him alone for a long time, basically disowning him. That must have been really tough on Ibrahim. Nonetheless, he showed remarkable patience, kindness, and respect, even in the face of hostility. In fact, he told his dad that he's going to ask Allah to forgive him. Unfortunately, though, Azar never came around to believing in his message.
I hope he had better luck with his people.
Nope, he didn't have much luck with his people either. They were actually quite annoyed that Ibrahim was challenging the status quo. He'd say to them, "Guys, these idols can't answer your prayers, nor do they benefit you. Why on earth would you worship them?" Now, in addition to idols, the people of the land also worshipped other objects as well, including celestial bodies like the sun and the moon. Their sheer size and powerful presence in daily life convinced many of them that these objects held divine power.
Why not worship the creator of all these objects instead?
That's exactly what Ibrahim told them, AZ. But you know what they said? They used the same line of reasoning others before them used to defend their position. "We worship these idols with all our heart because that's what our fathers and forefathers did." They didn't necessarily have a logical or spiritual reason for worshiping idols or celestial bodies. It was cultural inheritance, passed down from generation to generation.
So what happened next?
Well, one day his people organized a big celebration outside the city. And everyone was obviously going, so they expected Ibrahim to join as well. But he had a plan up his sleeves, so he excused himself and stayed behind. While everyone was away enjoying the festivities, Ibrahim made his way to the temple where the idols stood.
He was alone with the idols?
Yes, he was, and this was his chance to make a statement. He faced the idols and asked them, "Can any of you speak to me?" When they didn't answer him, he went ahead and smashed all the smaller idols into pieces, but intentionally left the biggest one intact.
Does this give us the green light to take measures into our own hands and destroy idols?
Good question, AZ. The answer is absolutely not. Ibrahim was a man of God sent to a people with divine instructions. Me, you, and our listeners are not prophets, and we have no authority to do so. When his people returned from the celebrations, they found that all the idols had been destroyed except for one. They were furious. Who the heck would do such a thing? It didn't take long before some of them connected the dots and suspected Ibrahim. They're like, "Hey, we heard a young man questioning our idols. His name is Ibrahim." So they gathered all the people and brought Ibrahim forward. They asked him, "Did you do this to our gods, Ibrahim?" Ibrahim replied sarcastically, "Me? He did it!" And he pointed to the big idol that was still intact. "Ask them," Ibrahim said, referring to the idols. "Since they're gods, they'll surely tell you that it was the big one." Ibrahim's response made them all see the light. "He's right," they said to each other. "He's making sense." But this moment of clarity didn't last long. They quickly silenced that voice of reason and slipped back into their old state. "Don't be foolish! You know that these idols don't talk," they said to Ibrahim. "Then why do you worship them?" Ibrahim replied. "Why do you worship objects that can't benefit or harm you? Why don't you worship Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth instead?" "That's enough! Stop contaminating our minds!" And then they decided to shut Ibrahim down forever by burning him to death. "Throw him into the fire!"
That is awful, especially since they just recognized the truth.
You're so right, AZ. Remember when we spoke about how the biggest injustice ever is to reject your creator knowingly? Well, Ibrahim's people were doing just that. They knew Allah was the one true God, but they chose to worship idols instead because they let their pride and arrogance get in the way. Same thing with the other people we spoke about in earlier episodes as well. Ad, Thamud, the people of Nuh, they were all guilty of this great evil. And so they started executing their criminal plan by building a fire. A massive fire that was inescapable. They wanted to make an example of Ibrahim. Once it was ready, they tied Ibrahim up, put him into a catapult, and shot him directly into the inferno. But Ibrahim alayhi salam was calm and composed. His faith was unshaken, and he had completely placed his trust in Allah. Do we have that type of trust in Allah? And guess what, AZ? Nothing happened to Ibrahim alayhi salam. No burns, no trauma, nothing.
How is that possible?
Well, Allah ordered the fire to be cool and safe for Ibrahim. The only reason fire burns us is because Allah gave it that property. If Allah orders that property to change, then guess what? It will change to whatever property He chooses to assign to it. And in this case, He made it give coolness instead of heat. So Ibrahim escapes death, and despite the miraculous exit, his people still did not accept his prophethood. In fact, he barely had any followers at all. His nephew Lut had accepted him, and so did his wife Sarah. But apart from that, his people were just stuck in their old ways. Now, Ibrahim was still a wanted man after being saved from the scorching fire, so he decides to leave his people and his homeland to spread his message elsewhere.
Unfortunately, it is time for us to split as well.
Man, you're right, AZ. Well, that was part 1 of Prophet Ibrahim's story. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll join Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam on his heroic journey and meet a few other prophets along the way as well. Don't miss it, because the adventure is just getting started. The Prophethood is where we come to learn about the heroes who spread Allah's word. The Prophethood, their stories teach us right from wrong. Let's walk in their footsteps, let's visit the Prophet.